I just want to tell you about my next workshop coming up on the 14th of July, Meaningful Mediumship. It's a Sunday and be held in Orewa. You can book those through my website, kerry-marie.co.nz. Hi, Andre.
Hey Mum, how you going?
How are you?
Good, thank you.
And today I'm going to be talking about, can I tell your future? Can I tell your future, Andre? That's our subject. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Interesting. Okay, so telling the future, fortune telling. A lot of people would perceive psychics as being fortune tellers.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on this?
It's understandable in a way. Like today, the cricket, there's Afghanistan playing New Zealand in cricket. So you'd love me to say, of course, New Zealand's going to win.
Yeah.
Which has happened to me when I've been brought into radio stations and things like that, because I want me to tell them what they want to hear, which is a big pressure. I want to go back to the humane side, humanity and human beings. And I feel we all have this anxiety where we think about mistakes we made in the past, and we can be quite anxious about the future. And that's why living in the present is so important, because our present is what actually influences our future, our present actions. And so this anxiety is that people want to know that everything's going to be okay. They're going to meet their knight in shining armour. They're going to be healthy. Their loved ones are healthy. Their children are going to do fine. That they're going to have plenty of money. They're going to have a roof over their head. That they're going to be able to get the job that they want. All those sort of things. So that's why they come and seek someone like myself. So they want this reassurance. So I really understand where they're coming from. And actually, I've come from that exact place myself. That's what first got me into this in the first place.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. They want that reassurance. So, but I also feel there's a stigma around this as well. There's a stigma, and I feel that people look at the crystal ball and that person has got these special powers and they've got this magical thinking and they've got a special thing they can see, they can foresee into the future. I don't believe that's true. You're just dealing with a human being that may be given some information, but they don't know everything. So, and I also feel that you've got to be very careful about fortune telling, because it can actually be quite dangerous as well.
Sure. Okay, and so what are the dangers of fortune telling?
Well, because, for instance, I always remember when I was nursing and I was at the nursing school, and this girl said, I always remember it, she said, I'm not going to bother about having a boyfriend. I'm going to just do my nursing degree and I'm going to travel, because a fortune teller told me that I'm not going to meet anybody till I'm the age of 28. And then I'm going to meet my husband and his name is this. And then we're going to get married. We're going to have 2 children. And I remember getting warning bells. I thought, wow, what happened to this case? Sarah, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. I do believe in that. And I'm thinking, so you're basing your whole life on, it's quite sad really, on what someone else has told you. So I believe that one of the biggest gifts that human beings are given is actually free will.
Okay.
So I think that's quite sad that someone would base their life, or I've already heard of other people that thought they were told this is terrible, and I don't believe this at all and never believe this. They were told they're going to die when they're 40. And so they spent the whole life being really scared that could happen to them. So I don't believe that, because one of the things I talk about, if something doesn't sit right with you, then I'd say it's not right. I have had incidents myself where fortune tellers have told me things and it's not true. But it's caused me a lot of anxiety, and some of it's true.
Right, so the future is undeterministic.
I think you're given some indicators.
Okay.
So one of the things that can be quite a positive thing, talking to someone that can give you guidance towards your future. And one of these was when first reading I ever had was on the phone. I rang someone with the Yellow Pages, and my relationship had broken. It was after your father or someone else, and we're living together, and that relationship broke down. And I did ring someone. And what this guy, I'll never forget it, and he said to me, don't sell your house. keep the house in Glenfield on the North Shore. Keep that house. Don't sell it, because I can see, I can feel, and I can see that if you sell that house, your life is going to be higgledy-piggledy. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be anxious. Going to be living in lots of different places. It's going to hurt you financially. So he did warn me. He begged me, and I didn't listen to him. So my free will, and actually he was quite right. I remember thinking back years later, I wish I'd listened to his advice.
Yeah.
But remember, he just gave me guidance and advice.
Yeah.
So I didn't listen to that. It wasn't fortune telling, but I had the free will to change that, which I did.
Yeah, right.
But he
so
was
you
being
can't
given-
tell the future, but you can have insights of different paths. So it's really not good to base your life. You have your own free will to determine your path.
Absolutely. Like I believe that 90% of your life is actually choices. I actually think, but some people might say 80-20. I believe it's around 90 to 10. I think 90% of your life is actually your choice, what you decide to do with your life, and 10% is destiny. And we talked about spiritualism, and one of the principles of spiritualism is personal responsibility.
Okay.
So
can you expand on that?
Personal responsibility. So whatever choices that you make with your life, whatever you decide to do with your life, is your personal responsibility. It's not somebody else's responsibility.
It's not the spirit's world's responsibility. It's not the psychic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's same as it's not the doctor's responsibility. It's not if you went to get financial advice, it's not the counselor's responsibility. It's not the finances, the accountant's responsibility. It's your responsibility.
Yeah.
And all things. So I think that's something that's really important.
Own your decisions.
Own your decisions. But I do believe sometimes that some people with like me can offer some guidance. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I understand that. And so I can imagine a lot of your clients would want their fortunes told. Is that
sometimes?
Yeah.
So what I do when people come to see me, I say to them, "Are you looking for guidance for your life?" I do call myself Spiritual Decisions. That's the name of my company.
Right.
Or are you looking for connection to the other world? Or are you wanting 50-50, 80-20? Because I think it's important they're paying me for a reading, and it's important that they get not necessarily what they want, but what they need.
Yeah.
And I want to fulfill what they want. So sometimes they might say, I don't want to talk to the spirit world, I more want guidance on my life. So I can offer them guidance, but there's a real caution around that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and do you give that caution when you provide insight?
Yes, I do give a lot of caution. I also have to be very diplomatic, and I have to understand that's feeling of what they want to be. They're a human being. They're scared about the future. They want everything to be okay. They want me to tell them that they want to hear, which I understand it, but it's also a huge pressure on me.
Yeah.
And if I give them what they want to hear, they'll come back at me worse. They'll say, "You told me, you said, but." So what I say to them, I can offer you guidance. I say to them very clearly, I'm not God. I haven't got superpowers, and I can offer you some guidance to your future. But ultimately, you have to make your own choices, and you have to make your own decisions. And the other thing I think that's really important for listeners and for anyone to realize is that this anxiety with life is to remember you've got this far. You've got this far in life, and you've managed to deal with it. And so you can continue to keep going.
Yeah.
But sometimes the information I can be given sometimes is not always what they want to hear either. So it could be a warning as well.
Right. So sometimes people come with what they want to hear. They've almost made their decision, and then they want to be told that from you, so they can maybe parts of that responsibility if it goes wrong, they can put it on someone maybe.
Yes. And I'm very honest with that. So I sort of say to them, well, I can say to people, well, you obviously made your mind up, because obviously they have made their mind up.
Right. Okay. I guess it'll get really tricky around relationships will be one.
Yes.
And money.
Yes,
right,
that's
those
two really important. So we had to be really mindful. I think mindfulness is really, and really honest and really authentic. And that can sometimes be really hard. But also, I feel when it comes into talking anything futuristic, I believe even though I talked about the aura, about psychic information, so I think I really pick up information about their past, their present situation, and potential for the future. It's only potential because I might pick up, for instance, I talked about someone about honey. They were thinking about honey, but doing that as a business, and I picked that up or about something they're futuristic, they're looking at in the future about doing. But at the same time, I feel that I'm given guidance from somewhere else. I don't feel it's me. It's not Kerry-Marie. So this is where the magical thinking could come in. But I'm given guidance from somewhere else.
So you mentioned free will. You just mentioned magical thinking.
Yeah.
Can you expand on magical thinking?
Magical thinking. So what happens is people have all sorts of things in life. People are very interesting, and people are all very different and all unique. And everybody has different challenges. And some people have very complex, complicated life or lives. And so they come to you and basically they feel they're not, but they feel like they're a mess, or everything's just too hard and there's too many puzzles, or they're confused, whatever it is. And so what they'd like me to get like a magic wand and go, brrr, abracadabra. There we are, I fixed your life, or have a special magical thinking, or they want me to tell them, they come along for entertainment in a way, like it's entertainment, or I can say something just incredible that's going to really
unlock their life. You're the key to unlock whatever they're anxious about or don't know about, or
it's called, that's what magical thinking is.
Okay.
And I am very authentic about that and say, look, I'm sorry, I'm not able to wave a magic wand. But what I tend to do, I sort of break it down, and I go through step by step about the things or situations in their life, about how I can help them. And I often find that I'm really inspired by the spirit world, and that can be someone that they know that's passed away. So they will know this, it's their father or their mother or something, and they give the guidance or information. Because once again, those that passed away, they don't tell you what to do. They only ever make suggestions. Or I believe it's like spirit guides. And I think Charlie talked about the voice, and I've heard the voice, and I talked about the Rugby World Cup. And that, I don't know where that came from. It was just a voice that told me about who was going to win the Rugby World Cup. But I only get things like that now and again.
Right.
And this is, I do been given some very authentic things about the future occasionally. And I think this is where the whole perception about fortune telling came from.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it would be nice though, right? Because a lot of anxiety stems from the unknown of what's to come next.
Yes.
We don't really get anxious about something in the past.
Yes.
We get anxious about something that's going to come.
Yes.
And if you can figure out what's going to happen next, then that's going to take away anxiety. So I can understand.
And this is where the guidance comes in. So, for instance, I might pick up with somebody that they need their health looked at. I think we talked about with Gavin. He's talked about, I said that I felt he needed more vegetables, and he's doing carnivore. And so I picked that up psychically.
Yeah, right.
That I kept on feeling he needed more vegetables, and he was doing this. I'm not saying the carnivore diet's wrong, but I was picking it wasn't right for him
at that time. Yeah.
But I'm not allowed to prescribe either. I just suggested that.
Yeah. It's some wisdom that's coming from somewhere.
Some wisdom's coming from somewhere, and I'm given it. Or it could be that I get a sense that I've had this recently a lot with financial situations, with a lot of people's finances are sort of quite strained, and so I'm given guidance towards that as well. And it may be things like, just wait, it's not quite the right time, slow down, get your ducks in the row. Maybe look at your budget, look at your situation now. You don't need to rush these decisions. That could be something I could get. Your health check. It could be I'm picked up at something about one of their children. I could be picking up that maybe the school they're going to doesn't feel quite right for them, and I might say there's a potential for the school feels a lot better, and they say, oh, that's interesting, because they normally know what you're talking about. So I've actually looked into that school, and it would be really good for my child to go to that school, and so it actually makes sense to them as well.
Right. Okay.
Or I might even pick up that I can sometimes pick up on affairs, believe it or not. And that's a really difficult one when I pick up that their partner's having an affair or they're having an affair.
Yeah.
the words that I hear is sins of the flesh, which is interesting because I think the spirit world aren't seeing it as a sin. It's more of a sin in the earth
Mm-hmm.
while they're alive. And
Mm.
I'm really mindful about how I deliver a message like that. So I might say something, are you aware of, I don't know if there's a third party involved or, and normally, are you aware, they might say, look, I'm suspecting that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Or normally they'll say, oh, I'm having an affair, or situations like that. So when I'm getting that information, I'm really scared to give it, if I'm honest,
Right.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to break people's
Yeah. I can
relationships
imagine
up.
it's really difficult.
It's really, so I'm
Yeah.
really careful the way that I introduce a subject like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Right. Yeah. I can imagine. Do you
Yeah,
think? Do you think that? So you're getting this guidance from the spirit world.
yes.
Do you think there's any malicious guidance from spirit
I've
world?
never had malicious guidance.
Right. Someone like playing a trick on them?
Never,
No.
never once.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting
I've
in
never
itself,
had
right?
I've never had malicious guidance, and
Yeah.
also even when I'm given things that are not exactly what they want to hear, I might say something. I don't know. There's something I'm feeling. Someone's got a problem. Like you got a problem with your stomach or your foot, or
Mm-hmm.
they always know what it means. So it's
Mm-hmm.
never ever. I've never once. Totally trust Spirit. It's never been malicious. Even recently, there was someone. I got to be careful because I don't want to. I've got to be confidential as well.
Yeah. Sure.
But there was a person that saw me about an inheritance,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted this inheritance, and it wasn't given to them. But the person from the spirit world came through and said, well, that was their choice. So that was the spirit's world choice. So that was the person who got the inheritance. That was their choice. So the spirit was saying basically respect it.
Right.
So that's how it sort of came through. But I
Mm-hmm.
know that that person wanted me to side with them. So
Yeah.
I just said, oh, this is not coming from Kerry-Marie. I'm hearing that this person that's passed has told me this. And they took it on. And they said, and they also, the spirit world said, let it go, let it go. Don't get bitter.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what they said to me? They said, oh, it's such a relief to hear this because my partner keeps on telling me to let it go and stop being bitter. So even though it wasn't what they wanted to hear, it
Yeah.
really helped them.
Yeah. And that's nice that it sort of doesn't fall back on you, right? Because you're just delivering a message that you're completely
Yes,
impartial to.
yes.
I can imagine um, it'd be easy to try and take someone's side on something,
Yes, it would be.
just
And
to get along with them, or
well, because people tell you this side of the story, and as a
Yeah.
human being, Kerry-Marie wanted to take their side.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I just got this information, and that's why I said, I'm sorry, this is not coming from Kerry-Marie, this is coming from this person you know who's passed.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually took it, but I was gentle how I delivered it. I'm never cruel the way I deliver things.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. No, it'd be a skill in itself to do
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mm.
I think I'd find that quite difficult.
Yes,
Yeah.
there was an interesting futuristic thing. It's actually in my book. I think it's Violet. The chapters are about Violet and Michael, I think it is. But her husband had passed, and I can talk about it. It's in my book. And he showed me her new house because I kept on saying to her, because he kept saying to me, "You're not staying where you're living," and she
Mm-hmm.
used to argue with me, which is really hard. She'd argue with me because she wanted to stay in her house because even though it was rented, it's where she remembered him, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a sudden passing. So he showed me this house, and he showed me, it was so specific, this house. He showed me the land, where it was, the colour. It had a pond in front of it, all sorts of things. It was so specific, and she found that house. And it's also happened to me with a friend, and it was really interesting. And I've talked to people about this, is that I was given different houses, that she was looking for a house, and then she found all these houses, but they weren't the right one. So this is a guidance.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't the house. And then one day, it just really came to me. I was given a stronger vision of this house. And it was so specific, the information about him being into Ford cars, and
Mm-hmm.
that there was an Australian connection. And she actually found this house, exactly what I described. And he did have Australian connection. There was a Ford car connection. So that was the right house for her. And the funny thing was, it was a tendered, where I think you just tender for it, or you put in a price. I can't remember how they call that, but they chose her.
Oh wow.
So that was definitely inspired by the spirit world.
Yeah. Interesting.
So isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yeah. So the
Very
spirit
clever.
world can see the future?
I
Or
think in some ways, I don't know if they can see. Oh, I'm just going all tingly. Yeah.
yeah,
I think they can in some ways. I think if they can see more than what we can see.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
So they can look down different paths, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, they get a bigger overview. I think it's a
Yeah.
bigger overview.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Press fast forward.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
yeah.
well.
And they
Okay.
give, but once again, I think something that Charlie said, and I think that's really important, is that he said you're given what you need, not what you necessarily want. And I think that's really important.
Right. Because I'd want the lotto numbers for tonight.
Exactly. And I'm
44
like,
million or something, wasn't
of
it?
course,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it's 50 million.
50 million. Well.
Of
Okay.
course, and I'm not
Yeah.
able to give that information because remember,
Yeah.
I don't get the information. It's given to me. I'm not. That's magical thinking.
Right. That's unfortunate.
Yes. Yeah, I'll
I
be
think we're
very
all
rich by now if that
right.
was the
Yes.
case.
That's
Yes.
right. Hey. So, what are your thoughts around famous historian in this realm, like Nostradamus or Gene Dixon?
People like that. So
Yeah.
Gene Dixon was one that predicted John F. Kennedy's
Yes.
assassination. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nostradamus. Well, Nostradamus was predicted the wars, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, who am I to say?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I would say, I'm hearing from spirit, actually. I'm hearing the words. All I can say is what I'm hearing from spirit, not from me. But all I'm hearing is that both of them are special.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I would say both of them are special. And I would say, but once again, they're not God.
Yeah.
And once again, they don't know everything. And I'll be given, they're actually sensitive, they're open, and they've been given this information.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, this takes me a little bit back to our last podcast about the God thing.
Right.
Because I talked about coming out of the closet because I was brought up very strict Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
and that I had this gift of mediumship. But did you know that I went to see 10 priests around Auckland
Wow.
about this mediumship gift that I had?
Really?
Yes, because I was so worried about it, and not all of
Mm-hmm.
them, but 9 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were going to tell me that I was bad, that I was naughty, that it was the wrong thing, and they didn't. Not apart from one didn't, but the rest did. And they said to me, they said, you have a God-given gift. And they said it's a special gift. And they say, but just remember, you're not God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've always
fascinating.
remembered that. And that was fascinating. It's
Yeah.
so nobody's God. So, yeah. So Spirit World has said to me, both those people are special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
right.
also remember, we're given this, we're human beings, we're given this information for purpose, for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
to help people, and also to show them opportunities as well. But we're not God. And
yeah. Right. So
and
they can't.
yeah.
They get given information, but they can't. They can't enact things. So they were given information. Nostradamus given information about there's going to be this war, but the Nostradamus themselves couldn't create that war.
No,
Right.
there's always personal
Yeah.
choice. There's always responsibility around everything that we do.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess that goes circles back to the, what you said at the start around free will and
Yes.
destiny.
Yes.
So I think you said
90% is
90%
choice.
is free will, and
Yeah.
so 10% will be destiny. Can you expand on this?
Yes, because what it is everything we do in this life. So we create it. I'm hearing the word. I'm hearing the words from Spirit now. We create it.
Mm-hmm.
We're the creators.
So we create on Earth.
Yes, I just said
Yeah.
we create our destinies, or we create our own futures.
Yeah, that's super important.
It's super important.
Yeah.
So it's basically it's up to you to, I suppose, discipline yourself, isn't it? Like make sure you eat properly, eat the right food, that you exercise, that you keep yourself safe, that you don't overtake in drugs and alcohol, that you are kind to other people, that you're kind to nature, kind to all living things, that you love and support yourself, and that you take action on things. And I think also apologize when you're wrong. And if you start like wasting all your money, and you just go on, you're trying to save for something, and you waste all this money, you can't blame
That's all on you.
the fortune teller or
Yeah.
the psychic or the medium or the parents or anyone that you haven't got what you wanted in life because you've gone and wasted it all.
Yeah.
Or you haven't taken personal responsibility. Like maybe you could, if you walk away from your study, but you had the ability, not saying you shouldn't walk away from study if you don't want to, but maybe you could have done the study and you could have become qualified, or you could have had a good job. There's lots of, it goes on and on.
Yeah, and I find that quite empowering as well, because the thought of there being a pre-laid path, a destiny that is already laid out for me,
Yes.
then I'm like, well, what's the point?
Absolutely. No,
But
isn't.
I've I got no control over the future. If the future's gonna
No.
roll, unravel by predetermined script, then we're just robots,
No.
right? Essentially, but having free will, and you have to own your choices, and your choices will tell, your life story will develop.
Yes. Yes.
Then that's a very empowering.
Yes. It's very. It is. So you. I did hear you're your own creator.
Yeah,
Isn't that
right.
beautiful?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful. And
Yeah.
what it makes you feel emotional actually. And then when I look at, we've all got this choice, and and this is where regret can come in as well, because regret comes in because we know that we've made these mistakes, and we can't change you can't change the past, but you can change the present, and which your present will influence the future. And quite often I say to people that come to see me, we now have a blank canvas. And upon this, we're going to draw a beautiful picture for your reading, and we create this beautiful reading for your life, and you take that away from you. So that's how it starts. Starts with a clean slate, and they always have to go away, and they have to make their own decisions and their own choices. And I think it's important. And there was, relationships are a good one. So I had someone the other day, and they said that I did meet this person that you told me about. It did happen, but it didn't work out. And I said, well, that's right, because maybe I was given this as a signpost. This is the person you're going to meet, or potentially. But remember, you have free will, and they have free will. So I was given that information, and it did come about. And then I also potentially picked up on somebody else for her future, and it was really interesting. And she wanted to squeeze more out of me, which happens to me a lot. What can you tell me? What's their name? When will I meet them? How will I meet them? And I think I just go back, sorry, I'm not being given that information. And you're not meant to know that information.
Yeah. I mean, how boring would life be if we got given all the juicy details before things came into fruition? It's like finding out your Christmas present before Christmas, right?
Yes, but
It takes the excitement away from it,
but
the magic.
Also,
right?
you'd ruin it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd ruin it.
Yeah.
So if I said, so the only thing I felt for her was that she didn't need to, she could look on dating sites and everything. I just what I felt to just keep being social and go about her day, because I felt she could meet someone naturally. That's the only thing I said to her.
Right. Interesting.
And spend time in nature. And I felt she should go to, things like go to the beach. I thought that was really good for her, like live in the present. But I really thought about this balance.
Yeah, because I can imagine if you give too much information, you're taking away free will from that person almost, right?
Absolutely.
Because if she came, I'm going to assume it's she came and said, what's the name of this person that I'm going to meet?
She could be anybody, because
this person, right? And
I'm not saying
go,
it's a particular person. I'm just generally talking about
lots
of people,
right? And
so the she's just a person I fabricated, for instance,
right? Okay.
And so I never give away information. Yeah,
this fabricated person, if they go, what's this person's name, and then you go, that person's Matt. Right, Matthew, and then that person might go, okay, and they go on their dating site, filter Matthew, and so they're only looking for Matthews. So
absolutely,
all of a sudden that free will has been narrowed down to only looking for this type of person. Which
actually, sometimes I'm given, which is really interesting. Sometimes I'm given information. I haven't given names, and I've said I'm given this name. And I don't know if this is a person's name. I say that. It could be their name. It could be their middle name. It could be someone connected to them with that name. And that's sometimes I actually have been given the name of someone, but that's come naturally, or that name has been connected to them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a bit of a
some
signpost, some information.
Yeah.
And once again, they may meet the man of their dreams. They might meet the perfect person, and they could ruin it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can
through making choices, right?
Well, you can create your own life, or you can destroy it.
Yeah, and I like what you said before. You said you can't change the past.
No, you can't.
You
can reflect. You can reflect on it.
You can reflect and learn from the past. But I think what's really powerful is that you can help determine your future by the choices you make today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's some, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's called the precious present.
Right. Yeah. And it is precious, right?
It's so, because that's all
Yeah.
you have. All you don't have, the future hasn't come yet, and the past is gone. But all you have is
Yeah.
the present, and and that's why I love it. It is a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't predict the future, but you can make decisions now to have better outcomes for the future.
Well, I'll give you a good example. Your sister Jasmine, my daughter,
Mm.
she was nagging me because I was walking quite a bit, and I was talking to her about listening to podcasts about movement and flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
and she said to me, "Mum, you're not doing enough resistance training."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, quite honestly, I don't want to get this phone call that you've fallen over when you're older and you've broken your hip,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that could happen, but when you haven't done anything
Mm-hmm.
to help yourself. And well, it was quite a good thing that she said to me. It was quite, and so he had quite a lot of foresight.
Mm.
And so I started going to Pilates and
Mm-hmm.
to the gym more and doing more exercise. And what's happened, I walked into the shop last night and so I said, "Oh my goodness, you're looking so healthy."
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've also been looking at my diet and supplements and all that sort of thing, and I'm feeling really good, and I keep myself warm because I feel the cold. So,
Mm-hmm.
if I go out now and don't keep myself warm, it's a cold day, I'll get sick.
Right.
That's my personal responsibility.
Yeah. Right.
If I don't go do some exercise and eat a healthy diet, then the chances are I could come sick. And so all I know is that I can do the best that I can. So I know now that I'm going to the gym, I'm doing Pilates, I'm walking. So if I did get older and I broke my hip, what I know,
Mm-hmm.
and my daughter knows, that I've done everything I can to prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
And
But you've lessened the chance of it, right?
I've lessened the chances.
In a way, you've predicted the future, saying there's less
Likelihood.
a scenario where I fall over and break my hip because I've
Yes.
done something today.
Yes. And the
Yeah.
interesting things too is that sometimes it's terrible, people die of car accidents and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, and sometimes I've had spirit wheels say to me, that was my time.
Mm-hmm.
Something tragic has happened to them, and so they've said to me, that's their time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really careful, a really sensitive subject for me to talk about. But other times I've felt that they known they shouldn't have driven, or someone tried to stop them for driving, or had a feeling, or the same with their health, or they say that, I say, I should have gone to the doctor earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that they felt there was something wrong, but they didn't want to do anything about it. So there's a lesson for us alive, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
we should always, or they have these regrets, and they talk about that as well. So some things, and sometimes, unfortunately and sadly, there is these terrible accidents, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I had destiny sort of change in me. I was actually booked on the Erebus flight years ago, and this is where it's really important to go with what's right for you. So this boyfriend I had booked me on the Erebus flight, and I was nursing at the time. And when you're a student nurse, you haven't got a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so all this money was going to go into, I said, I can't understand why I'd want to go on a stupid flight. I'm not saying it was a stupid flight, but to me, I was young, where I would fly around some mountains for one day. How boring it would be for me. I was 18 or something. When I could go to Australia instead. Go to Sydney. It's much more exciting. I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
And I just, even though he's quite a persuasive boyfriend, I just thought, I'm not going to spend my money on that.
Mm-hmm.
And the plane crashed.
Yeah. So you missed out on a once in a life opportunity.
Yeah, I'm dying. And
Yeah.
I feel sorry for anybody that's affected by Erebus and anybody that was on there. But
Yeah.
obviously, in some ways, I was protected. And I've had situations with my husband on his motorbike, and his one day just didn't want to go. And I said, I'm not going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, I'm not going. And the funny thing was, the guy behind him came off his bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'd been on the bike, what would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another time where I felt that someone had been injured when I went on the corner of the head, and that was a warning for me to get off the motorbike.
Wow, interesting.
So I
Yeah.
think I don't know if you've ever felt this yourself, Andre, when you've had a sense not to do something and you've done it anyway and regretted it. Have you sensed that before?
Yeah, plenty of times. Yeah.
Remember when I got that traffic ticket?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I remember that. So I was going to get your mouth guard, I think.
Yeah, well, we're on our way to rugby, and I'd forgotten my mouth guard.
So
Yeah.
then I was stressed at the time because there are lots of things going on in my life. So, and I had this really strong feeling not to go down this Arches Road. It was. I just thought, and I was so stressed and I was in such a hurry, and I tore down Arches Road. Something said, "Don't drive down there." And what happens? New. I got a traffic ticket. And also, I was obviously driving dangerously, which I shouldn't have done.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so stressed at the time. But I had a warning not to do that, and I just ignored it anyway.
Yeah. That gut instinct.
Yes, I think it's really important because I think if you look at animals, they have that instinct, don't they? They can sense fear and they don't go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
They feel it or they keep away, or so we have a sense of response. I just get that's our own responsibility as well. Is that we're to go with your own gut feeling and the intuition that you have, because that's a natural gift that we all have. And I think to follow that gut feeling, if something doesn't feel right, then don't do it.
Yeah.
You've been shown that for a reason.
Yeah. And that's a very hard thing to tune into, right? Because sometimes when there's a difference between this doesn't feel right and I can't be bothered doing this. This is a lot of hard work.
Well,
Like those two things are like this. They probably feel similar, but they're very different things.
Yeah, there's sort of an anxiety with it though, because I give an example that I was going into work and I felt really anxious driving my car, and I just felt something didn't feel right, and then I got a phone call from someone, I won't name, and a babysit, and it didn't feel right either, and I had to leave work and I pushed myself and I had a car accident on my way home. It was awful.
Right.
Wrote the car off basically, and I didn't write the car off, no, but it was quite dangerous. So
Yeah.
I had a real feeling not to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And in hindsight, you're like, I know what that feeling was now.
Yeah.
But then the other side of you could be like, at the time, it's like, I've got this feeling, but maybe it's because there's a large part of me that doesn't want to do this, and that's what my feeling is.
Yeah,
It's very hard to differentiate those two
I
things.
think you can work on it, because there was something like you may want to send an email because you're angry or upset, and it's like, but something doesn't feel right. Just, I would say, pause. If you're not sure whether you should do something, I think the power of the pause.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's nothing wrong with the power of the pause.
Yeah. In many
So
instances.
pardon?
In many instances in life, it's pausing and stopping.
Yeah, and that's why my mother always told me don't make phone decisions. I think it's always say, okay, I'll think about that and come back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if something's not quite right, then there's this anxiety with it. It's not like the fear anxiety. There's something just doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally know the feeling.
Yeah. We just got to tune into it a bit more.
Yeah, it's just very, very difficult.
Well, yeah, everything with spirit or psychic or one of this is very sensitive. And that the next time you interview, you're going to be talking about the senses and how to tune into those senses, because I think that's really important.
Okay, we'll jot that one down for next time.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
Right. So I have had some future predictions that have come true. Like I said, the Rugby World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I've had with people about meeting people or buying houses, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was one circumstance, but always there's free will with it. So there's one circumstance where was very unlikely, and it was, I said to this lady that I really felt that she could be shifting location.
Mm-hmm.
I also felt that the place that she was working could shift location, and it was a much smaller place.
Mm-hmm.
And I also felt that she could mend the relationship with her son, and she said none of those things are possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, yeah, I just get the potential. I always say, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I could be wrong. I always say I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I say, but I just feel this potential. And then she emailed me back and said, not going to believe this. It all happened.
Wow.
But I always say, just go with the flow. Don't try to, if you try to push things to happen before they're ready, you'll just almost like strangle it and stop it. Just go with the flow. I think that breathing, that take your time, go with the flow. I think that's really important. And also remember, you've got this far in life. You've got that ability within you to get this far, and you've got this ability to even a better life and create something better for your future.
Yeah. What springs to mind when you said, because you said that earlier as well, it's like you've got this far in life, and you're wiser than you've ever been.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so you've gotten to this point,
yes,
and at this point, you're actually wiser than you've ever been.
Yes.
So, you can definitely do what's next.
You can. The other thing is, what's that saying about if you keep on doing the same thing, and expect a different result, is a sign of madness, isn't it?
Yes.
And I don't know how you see sometimes people keep on making the same mistakes over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so mistakes are not a bad thing. They're just something for us to learn by.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not a bad thing unless you don't
keep on repeating them.
Yeah, don't take the time to reflect on it and try to change behaviour.
Yeah. So hope you've enjoyed this podcast, Andre.
Yeah, it's been a really, really good conversation. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. So what have you learnt from it, do you think?
You can't tell me what the lotto numbers are
No, I
tonight.
can't.
You haven't told me who's going to win the cricket
No.
today.
We're hoping it's going to be New Zealand, of course.
Yes, there might be a little bit of bias in that. But you do get insights of what could,
Possibly happen.
possibly happen from the spirit world.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so they might give some clues and some helpful hints and wisdom, but no definitives. That the 90-10 rule.
Yes,
That
yes.
you got that ratio where 90% is free will. There's a element of destiny in there as well.
That's my
But
belief. Other people may believe something different.
right,
Yeah, that's my belief. Yeah.
but in, the majority of our life is free will.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I guess an example of that 10% of destiny is if you're in a aeroplane, well, you're free will getting on the aeroplane, but that crash, then that would be destiny essentially.
There's nothing you can
because
do about
there's
it.
nothing that was completely out of control, or you're walking down the road and hit a tree and concuss yourself.
These
Something
things
like that.
can happen, sadly.
Yeah.
Very sadly. Yeah.
I guess those are probably my main takeaways.
Takeaways. And I
Yeah.
think also I'd say for people as well, I would be cautious about getting your fortune told. I would always be dubious and careful and just take it with a grain of salt and just see.
Mm-hmm.
Only go, it's always a suggest. I'm hearing from Spirit, it's a suggestion
Mm-hmm.
and it's guidance and it's got to sit right with you. And look at that guy guided me about not selling my house. I didn't listen. And you know how I was all over the place and I found out how with finances.
Yeah.
If I listened to him, if only, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I chose not to. So,
Yeah.
and it's like a mistake that I made. So he just gave me information. So it's creating your own future. I think that's important. So I like you to take away from this that you create your own future. You influence it a lot. Most things, not everything's in your control, but a lot of things are. Love yourself and do the best for you and live in the present because the present is a gift, is an opportunity. And that's why the present is called a present because it is a gift. If you like this podcast, please like and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to buy any of my Message from Spirit cards, please go to kerry-marie.co.nz. You can find me on Contact Me. You can order my books through there as well and book a reading. Blessings and love, Kerry-Marie.